I am so happy to have Joanne Sweeney joining me live today because I want you to know, Joanne, I might consider myself like a pioneer in the space with like learning side by side with my own son. But guess what? I am on the shoulders of giants because you in the space Sophie, with like learning side by side with my own son. But guess what? I am on the shoulders of giants because you in the space Sophie, with like. Okay, I officially know that we're live.
Great.
With that background, I didn't realize that the YouTube channel was open. But honestly, and especially I was in a very emotional spot to just really let you know that I'm on the shoulder of giants because you and Sophie were already, doing incredible work way before the rest of us even like had it on our radar. So the fact that you are, a mother, that you've done this work alongside your children, the work that you continue to do to really make an impact in industry. I'm just so proud to know you and to be on this journey with you and to honestly have you as my role model. And just so that everybody knows, I am all dressed up in red and bright because if you do not know Joanne, anytime that you present, I feel like there are red shoes, on that stage or red boots. And so I dressed appropriately today because I'm just so happy to hear your story and to share it with others.
Well, first of all, thank you for that lovely and warm introduction. And if you say that, you're standing on the shoulders of giants, then I'm right by your shoulder, right? Because we're connected by what we share a huge passion about. But through this, we've also become good friends because the internet is more than just, having shallow connections. You can build something deeper. And now we've been together in person, good old days, right? In 3 different countries. So in Ireland, in the UK, and also in the United States. And all of that driven by you because we found each other. I think it was on Twitter was the platform. And so I'm thrilled to be here and to have this conversation with you and your tribe.
Oh my gosh. Well, when I think about, I want you to know I had an incredible call. I hope they're able to join us. The time zones might not match up, but right now we are currently hosting this global impactor project. And we have this incredible cohort, and there is a classroom in Kenya, and those students were calling themselves freelancers. And the first thing I thought about was, for a role model, I couldn't bring a better role model to that student classroom about how to, because this is digital citizenship. This is how to use technology for good. I know you use the hashtag social media for good, but it is taking this and realizing this isn't just something we do in a classroom in school. This is what we do at home, what we do at play, what we do at work. And so I would love for you to share your journey because to me, from the outside, it started as a mother, right? And then it has a mother who is a professional. So it was both like the personal and the professional. But I would love for you to share your story.
Okay, so let me do that and try not give you everything, but give what's most important. So the digital citizenship concept, I guess, started with me without me having a name on it. When my daughter Sophie was 13 years old, she's now 25 for context. And I was a young mother. I had her when I was 17 years old. So we grew up together essentially. And that's also great fun. But when she got to that milestone of being a teenager, she was so curious about social media. She had a smartphone and she wanted obviously to get more friends. Facebook was her platform of choice at that stage. And so I realized one evening that she had over 300 friends on Facebook and she was like 13 years old. And I was like, Sophie, you don't know 300 people. I don't know 300 people. They're not your friends. And of course, what social media does, as we know, it's been proven to give you a spike in the happy hormones and you get that validation when people like your content, want to be your friend. So I wanted to explain to her what it meant to have friends on Facebook and how to use the platform correctly. So in order to try and get her to see my point of view, I had to see her point of view. And so rather than banning her and, taking her device off her and turning off the Wi-Fi access in the house, I wondered what I could do where we could meet halfway. And I think probably because Sophie and I grew up together and we did everything together. I went back to secondary school, which is high school in the United States, when she was still a baby. I brought her to university. It was very much a team effort. So we try and have each other's back, and even when we have difficult conversations. So I came up with the idea of having like a contract, but we both had to sign the contract. So we reviewed all the friends, got rid of people that she didn't know. And one of the agreements was that I would become her Facebook friend, and I would be able to be that adult person that could make sure that she was safe, but teach her how to navigate the online world safely. So we drew up the contract. We both signed it. I kind of respected her privacy, but also we had ground rules. And that was the start of it. And from there, I realized that my friends, other parents, I'm a professional, so I taught digital marketing and social media back then. And I saw an opportunity to help other parents. So that led Sophie and I to creating Young Minds Online, which was a program for tweens and teens. There were 8 core modules. We presented it to our Minister for Education in our national parliament. So we got a meeting with him. He thought it was a great idea. We felt that it should be introduced as mainstream education in schools because nobody is teaching it. I mean, how many times do young people get a bad rap about how much time they spend on social, that they're now looking at TikTok and, what about the quality of the content that they're watching? So all of this blame was going on, but, how do we give our children empowerment through knowledge? And then I realized that the parents also didn't really have that knowledge, and perhaps Sophie and I were in a unique position. So we rolled it out to one school in particular here in Galway in the west of Ireland, and 50 students took it. And I spent a full 8 months in their classroom a couple of times a month and teaching the modules. And Sophie came in, she was older at that stage. And it was just remarkable. And they said, you know what, I feel more in control of my social media life now because what you've taught me. There was also a module within that course where they had to teach their parents what they knew. So sharing the knowledge and it being in the opposite direction. And so that was hugely successful, but I wasn't able, always very ambitious. I wasn't able to get it on the curriculum in Ireland. In fact, the Minister for Education said to me and to Sophie during that meeting, this is a great idea. I can see the need, but guess what? Let's leave it to private industry. And I think that's the whole ethos of your Digital Citizenship Institute, that it's everyone's responsibility. We all have a role to play. We subsequently went on and created it as an e-learning program, introduced parents online as well as Young Minds Online. And then we sold it to Kaspersky Lab, and they took it on, and they now have that content, and you get it free whenever you download one of their security apps. That was a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if they still have it. And so that was our foray. And yeah, then we met each other and we spoke on 3 stages together, as I said, in 3 countries.
Well, I think that you are such an early pioneer in this space that for the Minister of, Education to say, oh, it just was, you were ahead of your time. And, think about if that had been accepted and was something that was embedded so early on, we'd be in a different place right now. Yeah. And I think that what really aligns us is that I've never been about like, don't do this, don't do that. I've never been about the band. A lot of the social media, you're supposed to be 13. So what I did with my own son, that idea of like, forget about driver's ed and you have to take a course to learn how to drive before you get the keys to the car. It goes back earlier to like when you learn how to ride a bike, and it's about balancing. And, you have the training wheels and then the training wheels come off, but you still have somebody holding the back of this bike seat as you are figuring this out. And it is the perfect analogy for being on and offline, that we need someone holding the back of our bike seat as we are negotiating both our on and offline world. So I love that your story, like, not only were you doing this professionally, but that you were doing this at home, because that's the powerful piece. And now I want you to know, we've got some viewers joining us. I'm going to guess it's Derek Larson who says, yay, two of my favorite people. It just says a Facebook user. And guess what? Kenya is able to join us. And they are so happy to be joining. And Joanne, after this, I will be making a special introduction, because this global impactor cohort that we're working with right now, the ultimate goal was we were going to write up a case study, a white paper. And these student freelancers, I can't think of a better, like, authentic way to learn about marketing and how to package up a case study. And I would love if you would be one of their mentors.
It would be my absolute honor. You know, I think that we all have a responsibility to share the knowledge, to empower other people who can then empower other citizens, and then we empower other nations. Nobody has a monopoly on digital citizenship, and we have governments blaming the social networks. We have social networks saying, well, it's the users. We've got businesses saying, you know, we're paying for it, where's our protection? We all have a role to play. And if we start off, just like we have with COVID-19, I mean, COVID-19 is about personal responsibility, right? Wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask, adhere to the public health guidelines. When we go online, we need to take personal responsibility, think before we speak, think before we tweet, and then share the knowledge and build people up. So it would be my honor to mentor that amazing freelance team and to be part of their journey. Absolutely.
Okay, well, I know that you have transitioned, and I think it's still all under a larger umbrella of the Digital Training Institute. But over the last several years, what you've been able to do with marketing in particular and working with the EU Parliament, I would love to, because this to me is that idea from the classroom to the boardroom, you know, that this is, I'm hoping that adults realize this isn't just what our young people are supposed to do at school, but when they come home, that parents would say, ha, I have a responsibility. This is my responsibility. And when I go to work, I have to say, I want to be part of this change. I want to make a positive impact. So can you just share? I mean, you have courses, you have webinars. I mean, you are my go-to place for digital citizenship at work. And I would love for you to share that.
So yes, so Digital Training Institute is my company, and I've been working in the space for 12 years, number of years ago, probably going back because I'm a journalist by trade. And I've always been, like, you know, a court reporter working with government, local government, health authorities, education, and getting the story in my early career. I realized that I had a skill set that combined, you know, the understanding of government, the understanding of politics, digital marketing, and social media. And I realized that all the courses out there were aimed at private sector. How do you sell online? How do you convert a follower into cash? And I realized that we were evolving as a world in terms of digital diplomacy, but the standard of digital diplomacy just wasn't where I thought it should be. You know, here's me, you know this word, with my Irish notions. I had notions about what I thought, you know, should be happening. But I thought, you know, I have some knowledge that I think I can impart to improve the standard of communications online in the public interest. So now I work with governments, public sector agencies, semi-state bodies, the nonprofit sector, and teach them how to do digital diplomacy, but how to craft messages that are open and transparent in the public interest. And I need to show you, let me just reach up here, excuse me, but the foreword for my book, it's not a cheap plug, but the foreword for this book, Public Sector Marketing Pro, was written by Tom Cochran, an American who was the chief digital advisor to Barack Obama in the 2009 administration. And in the opening pages to this book, Tom Cochran brings us inside the White House. And Barack Obama, in one of his opening statements to his staff, said, we need an open and a transparent government, and we need to start delivering public services, not how we want to deliver them, but how the people expect us to deliver them. And I was like, oh my goodness. And that in a nutshell is what I teach. And that was 2009. Do you think that we still need that now? We need it more than ever. And so I'm an educator, but I'm also an ambassador for good digital citizenship that happens in schools, but happens in boardrooms and happens in corridors of power. Because I believe that the world has changed, and we used to have the pillars of power in society that were, and I'm even talking from an Irish context, church, state, and big business. And they controlled society. But that now is not how the world is, because the people's voices are now heard and they should be listened to. Like, we always should have been listened to, but we weren't. There were too many hurdles. You know, we had to get through the media to get to government or to be heard. But now we have a device, we've got an internet connection, and we have social networks, and they provide all of us with the opportunity to be heard and to have a voice. But we have to use those platforms responsibly, and we have to respect the people at the other side of those social networks. And I truly believe that government and public sector need to be more transparent in their communications. And so this is also a mission that I am on.
You know, Joanne, that's like a great reminder, because it brings back the human quality, like bringing back humanity into this conversation. Because when we're online, sometimes, you know, especially if they're just going to be comments and we're not on a video call, you forget that your choices, your words, they matter, and they are going to impact another human being, whether you can see them or you can't see them. And so that brings back that if I can't humanize the person sitting next to me, that's the first thing we need to do. We need to be able to do that offline, because if I can't do that, then I'm never able to apply that to people who might look different, speak a different language, practice different religions or traditions around the world. And if I can't do that, I can never apply it to somebody across the screen. And that's why I really like, and I feel like we've been aligned with this idea of community is local, global, and digital simultaneously. And that, you know, there's a blur between the on and offline world, because there are so many, like right now in the pandemic, we are all at home working and learning and playing, you know, all online. And I can't think of the timing. I mean, what you were trying to do when Sophie was 13, but the timing right now, it's urgent. Mm-hmm. And this is on everyone to say, I'm going to raise my hand. Yes, I want to stand up and I want to be a part of that change. Can you share some of the professional development that you provide? Is incredible.
So what I've tried to do is, obviously I am one person and there's only so many people that I can train. And I was doing a lot of that in person, and, you know, going to Brussels to the European Parliament, going across Ireland, going across Europe for Google, who I work with as well. And what I wanted to do was to create online programs that were scalable, so I could scale the knowledge, scale the empowerment, and improve best practice. So I've created a number of courses that are now online. So like if I think about Lisa, who lives in Auckland in New Zealand, and she's working in digital diplomacy over there, she can learn from me, right? Even though she's in a different continent and a different time zone. And then I've got David, who's in South Wales, or I've got Ruth, who's in Northern Ireland, or I've got Fiona, who's in Cork. So all of these public sector and government professionals now gather with me online. They get some live coaching, and they also get access to my accredited program. So I've created a professional diploma in social media for government and public sector. I don't know if there are any other in the world that exist for that niche. I've also created a professional diploma in digital marketing for government and public sectors. That's broader. And then on Monday, actually, of next week, so in a couple of days, I'll be opening the doors to my new membership. So you can become a member of the Public Sector Marketing Institute, where you get 4.5 hours of live training every month, between live coaching, a masterclass, plus a guest expert. And that's for a full year, and then access to my A to Z library of resources and how to. So yeah, I guess I've been able to turn what I know into online products that people can access from anywhere in the world. And what I'm trying to do is what you have created, is to create a community of like-minded people who buy into this notion of trust, transparency, openness, and working with the citizen at the center of everything you do, and not to be afraid of social media. There's a guy you need to speak to, and I'll make an introduction. He's got the best name in the game. He's Canadian, and his name is Tony Reno. I mean, isn't that a great name?
I love it.
Tony Reno. So Tony was published in the McMaster Journal of Communication in Canada before Christmas. And how I got to know him is he found some of my articles online and he quoted me in his research. And his research is all around how to deal with negativity online. He blew my mind. He's actually going to be on my show in a couple of weeks. And he talks about how negativity spirals online. If you're positive to somebody online, it doesn't get the momentum that negativity gets for obvious reasons. People respond to negativity more. It gets shared more. When somebody's negative, another person is more inclined to. But he also speaks about his research found the 1%. It's usually 1% of an audience who are causing that negativity. So government and public sector, and even maybe schools, boardrooms, businesses, are making decisions not to embrace social media based on the 1%. Can you tell me any business or any other organization that would build their strategy based on 1% of anything? I don't. And his research really gave me a new perspective that I could then present to my students and to my clients. So Google Tony Reno and his research on dealing with negativity online. And I think that's what we need to realize, that there's 99% of an audience who want to hear from us, who we can empower, who we can connect with, and then they will become advocates as well. Yeah, so that was fascinating.
You know, that's basically making decisions out of fear. I'm not going to do it because I'm afraid.
Yeah.
When you put it into that context that it's only 1%, and it might feel like it's the whole world, right? When it's happening to you. But I feel like that is a message for anybody online. And I've seen people retreat online when things are really negative because you don't know what to do. And so to have that strategy, I think that's what we all need. It's like a roadmap on being online, how to navigate the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And he talks about that 1%. Lean in to their negativity. Find out why they're negative. So if it's a troll or an anonymous bot, we sideline those. I mean, they don't need our airtime. They don't deserve it. They're there for, reasons that are just to hate. So we don't engage. But then there's a portion of that 1% who feel not heard. Maybe it's a citizen or a customer who's been ignored and the other channels of communication have broken down. Maybe it's somebody who's had a really bad experience with a business or a public service, and they want everybody else to hear their story so that they can empathize with them, or that, that agency changes their policy. So we also have to lean into the negativity and get a better understanding of why people are upset. And like, I teach a strategy to my clients and students, and I call it FNCs. So that stands for frequent nasty comments. And I say, lean into the negativity and use those insights to improve your communications and to improve your service, because people's feedback is valuable, So to try and grade and understand the feedback that we're getting.
Because I feel like you hear a lot is like the cancel culture, whether it's just you block something, you cancel it, but to lean into it. Tell me what that acronym was again.
FNC, frequent nasty comments.
Okay, and you lean into that. I love it. Well, there's some more comments that are coming in, and that you have a lot to offer freelancers in Kenya. And so I will definitely make that introduction after this call. But I wanted to kind of go down a little bit of memory lane with you, because we have been on 3 stages together. And one stage, we've actually been on more than 3. Physically, we've been on 3 stages together. But one stage was virtual, and it was a game changer for me. It was in St. Louis. And we hosted a panel from the classroom to the boardroom. That was the name of our panel. And the part that I really liked the most was the fact that our panelists, most of them were virtual, and you had a virtual panelist with someone live on the stage. And on the stage was Derek Larson engaging with you and having this conversation. And we kind of really represented a whole, so many different topics and themes in digital citizenship. And yours obviously was in the industry, but I that to me was like a light switch went off, that how much more powerful about, and this was all pre-pandemic. This had to be maybe 3 years ago that we hosted this, that we don't always have to be in the same place at the same time. That power of making these connections, and they're real connections online. I loved that conversation. But the fact that being on stage, both at the UK, Twitter headquarters, and in Ireland, that's the last time I got to see you, was when we were in Ireland. All of that, I much prefer the in-person. But I wanted to bring up that particular panel because it was all pre-COVID, and it was an opportunity for me to start to look out of a different lens about ways that we can authentically engage with others. And you have always been my go-to person when I think about digital citizenship at work, but also at home because of the work that you started with Sophie. What year was that?
Gosh, so she was 13, she's 25 now. So that's 12 years ago. So is that like 2009?
Oh my gosh, you really are a trailblazer. Nobody was in that space doing that at that time.
Yeah, sometimes I'm ahead. I like to look ahead anyway in my life and in my business. But sometimes the market's not ready, and that's difficult. And again, if a CEO or an investor was making a decision, if the market's not ready, they're not going to invest. But I love being my own boss. That's why I love being my own boss. I mean, I'm not here to make trillions. I'm here to make an impact and obviously to have a livelihood. And so I get to make those decisions in my business, and I get to write books and self-publish them because I think there's a message in there that needs to get around. And like you, I think that we come from the same place. Our why is the same. And I think what COVID-19 has taught us is that let's not stop the conversations because we can't be in person. I think a hybrid model anyway for events is going to continue. I think you were probably ahead of the curve doing that. And bringing all of these sectors of society onto one panel. And when you did that, Mary Alice, you did not only just have your light bulb moment, but the rest of us can physically see that digital citizenship is a conversation for all aspects of society. And even like I follow the media, and I still don't think that the media have grasped the concept of digital citizenship, or the concept that it's everyone's responsibility. Too much it's a blame game, you know, one person versus another. And really, if we reframed what we want an internet for good to be, then I think we can all play a part, and we need leaders.
Oh,
yeah.
You know, and I feel like personally, the digital citizenship like term, an umbrella term, has got hijacked. You know, it means, it's so broad. It means so many different things to different people. I tend not to lead anymore with digital citizenship. I don't even necessarily add it as a hashtag or the DigCit hashtag anymore. Because if I tell people that's what I do, I work with school communities literally around the world. And I were to say in digital citizenship, it's not a guarantee anybody knows what I'm talking about. So what I've noticed the past several years, I lead with, I work with school communities around the world on how to use technology for good. And I will talk about, it's not just in the classroom, it's at home, it's at play, it's at work. It is an entire community coming to learn together, side by side, this, you know, approach where everybody, no matter how young or old you are. And when I phrase it using tech for good, or you use social media for good, people understand. But I have to tell you, I'm excited about this potential, and I'd love your Bobby to get involved because I know he's into sports. Is I've been looking at sportsmanship, and you know, the different behaviors and attitudes that your coaches, you know, will want. And when you think about what does it mean to be a good sport, well, how do we take that and we apply it online? So I've been using this digital sportsmanship, and I am looking to crowdsource a universal definition on what this means. And so I'd love to get Bobby involved because I know he plays different sports than we play here in the United States. And to get that diverse voice in there will be really important. But when I tell people digital sportsmanship, 100%, just like use tech for good, people understand what I'm talking about. When I talk about digital citizenship, it's not a guarantee. And And it's also, I feel like when I talk about the impact, when I add impact, because we want this to be actionable. We don't want to talk about how to use tech for good. We want to put it into action every single day. And so this isn't a one-time have an assembly or a one-time put a check in the box. We had that conversation. I mean, for parents, this has to be like an ongoing conversation that happens every single day, because technologies are continuing to evolve. And so our conversations need to evolve as well, and add different things that we might not even know how to best guide our child or our teen or our colleague, even if we want to talk about in the workplace. But to have that conversation is really the first step to say, this isn't about being tech savvy. This is your willingness and your disposition to say, I want to be that change. I want to be a part of this conversation.
And you know what? The way that you bring people together from all over the world, it is so inspiring. And I want to thank you for, bringing me into your tribe and introducing me to the people that you know. And where is your next adventure? I want to know, because I'll be on the train or the plane.
Oh my gosh. Well, we do have one happening in California next month, but we have our first DigCit Summit, Latin America. But I don't know. How's your Spanish? That's happening in March.
Not great.
Me neither. I mean, all I'm going to be able to do, unfortunately, is hit retweet. But my colleague, Eugenia Tasma, is in Mexico. She's got a great team, and they're going to put on DigCit Summit Latin America. And I'm hoping, as a part of this impactor cohort, that we're going to be having other global, that is the part that's been really exciting, is all of these, that people have self-selected to say, I want to be a part of that change. And I want to bring that change to my community. I have to tell you, it has to be Derek that's joining, because he wants to know, Joanne Sweeney, I've got to know, are you wearing your red shoes for this discussion?
No, I'm not wearing any shoes at the moment. I'm wearing slippers because I'm working from home, but they've got a nice butterfly on them.
I love it. Well, for Derek, I want him to know that I definitely dressed in red on purpose to be with Joanne today, thinking about those red shoes. So I can't thank you enough for joining me today. Tell people, where can they find you? Because you are the go-to person. So I don't want, stop right there, stop what you're doing, and follow Joanne. I'm going to actually put that so they know. I just had Twitter handles, but I've just put that up as a banner.
That is perfect. You find me on Twitter, JS Tweets Digital, and at Public Sector Pro. Go there, even Google Joanne Sweeney, and you'll find me. You'll absolutely find me. Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to see your beautiful face and to have this conversation. What a great way to kickstart my weekend in lockdown.
I'm telling you, I cannot wait until we can be in the same place at the same time, because I am going to give you a massive, massive hug next time I get to be with you. Yes, as we would say with my Boston accent, I'm going to give you a wicked hot hug. So thank you so much, Joanne. And thank you for anybody that got to watch us live, or you're going to be able to watch later on. Joanne, to me, is the epitome of digital citizenship at work. And in fact, if we want to even say that beyond just digital citizenship, how to use tech for good, how to use social media for good. And so, Joanne, thank you so much for making the impact that you make that positively influences all of us.
Pleasure. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Okay, terrific.
Bye-bye.